I never imagined I'd be that wife, the one who uncovers her husband's affair through a stray text message. But there I was on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, completely unaware that my life was about to unravel. My phone had died, and I needed to call the plumber. Jake's phone was lying right there on the kitchen counter, face up, like it had nothing to hide. I picked it up, opened it without a second thought, because why would I? We trusted each other. At least, I thought we did. I was just pulling up the contacts list when a notification appeared on the screen like a grenade tossed casually into my day. Can't wait for Friday night at Bella Luna. Our usual table at 8. Miss you already. S. Time slowed down. The air around me felt thick, like I had to fight to breathe. I stared at that message, reading it over and over, hoping I had misunderstood. But I hadn't. I knew exactly who S was. Sarah Miller, the coworker. The name that had started coming up more and more often in Jake's stories about work. The woman who always seemed to have some emergency that required Jake to stay late at the office. The same woman whose hand I had shaken at the Christmas party, who smiled too brightly and touched Jake's arm a little too often. The woman whose husband, Tom, had been standing beside her that night with a drink in hand and no idea either. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it echoing in my ears as I opened Jake's messages. I shouldn't have done it. I should have waited. But curiosity mixed with dread is a powerful thing. What I found wasn't just one message. It was a slow, devastating novel of betrayal. A string of intimate messages stretching back months. There were flirtatious exchanges, secret meetups, compliments he used to give me, now repurposed and handed to her like leftover flowers. There were pictures, ones that made me sick to my stomach, and plans for weekends I thought he'd been working. Every tap of my finger was a punch to the gut. 4 years of marriage. 4 years of thinking we were building something real. And this was what it came down to? A cliched office affair? I didn't confront him right away. That would have been too easy. A screaming match, broken plates, crying on the kitchen floor while he stood there lying through his teeth. That wasn't the ending I wanted.
No.
Something inside me, something sharper than rage and colder than heartbreak, whispered that I needed to handle this differently. With precision. I had watched enough movies to know that fury burns fast and leaves you with nothing but ashes. But strategy? That leaves scars. I put his phone back exactly where I found it, made the plumber call from my newly charged device, and greeted him with a smile when he walked through the door that evening. I even kissed him goodbye as he left for his business trip to Chicago, something I now knew was complete fiction. He said he'd be gone until Saturday morning.
Perfect.
That gave me time. Time to plot, to calculate, to deliver the kind of confrontation they would never forget. The next morning, with a calm that surprised even me, I called Bella Luna and made a reservation for Friday night at 8:15 p.m., just a few minutes after their usual time. I asked, ever so politely, to be seated right next to table 9. That was their table according to the message. Their little romantic hideaway. I wanted to be close enough to watch their fantasy come crashing down. Then came the harder part. I had to involve someone else in this mess. I found Tom Miller's number in the company directory Jake kept in his home office. My hands were trembling as I dialed, unsure of what I was doing until I heard his voice.
Tom.
This is Rebecca, Jake's wife. We met at the Christmas party. I could hear the hesitation in my voice, the restraint behind every syllable. I need to talk to you. Can we meet for coffee? It's important. 3 hours later, I sat across from him at a small cafe tucked into a quiet corner of town. He looked just as I remembered, tall, thoughtful, soft-spoken, the kind of man who reads biographies and knows how to listen. He was clearly confused, shifting in his seat, trying to figure out why I had called him. When I finally told him the truth, when I showed him the screenshots and let the words pour out, the color drained from his face like a floodgate had opened. For a moment, I thought he might stand up and leave. Instead, he took a deep breath and asked, "What do you want to do about it?" That one question lit a fire in me. I explained everything Bella Luna Friday night, the plan to sit right next to them and watch them squirm. His eyebrows lifted in disbelief, then anger, then something far more painful, understanding. He nodded slowly, his eyes locked on the screen where his wife's betrayal stared back at him. I suspected something, he confessed. The late meetings, the weekend work, the new passcode on her phone. I didn't want to believe it. We sat there for 2 hours, plotting like co-conspirators. He suggested confronting them separately, maybe at home. But I was adamant. They've been mocking us behind our backs, Tom. Sneaking around while you're home taking care of your boys, and I'm making dinner for a man who's dining with someone else. They don't get a private confrontation. They get a public reckoning. By the time we parted ways, the plan was set in stone. We called it Operation Table 12. The next 3 days felt like an out-of-body experience. I went through the motions: morning coffee, dinner prep, the casual "how was your day?" conversations. Each lie he told felt like another layer of poison seeping into our home. I have a late meeting Friday night, he said. It's the Johnson account. I smiled, kissed him on the cheek, and told him good luck. I even helped him choose a shirt to wear that Wednesday. A crisp, dark blue one. The same one I knew he'd be wearing when I saw him with her. When Friday arrived, I told Jake I was having dinner with an old college friend. He seemed relieved, even happy that I had plans. I spent 3 hours getting ready, choosing a black dress that clung in all the right places, doing my makeup with surgical precision, curling my hair with the kind of care you give before going to war. I looked in the mirror one last time and told myself, you are not the victim tonight. You are the reckoning. Tom and I met at a quiet bar 2 blocks from the restaurant. He looked different, sharper, like a man who had decided to reclaim something that had been stolen. His haircut was neat, his suit impeccable, and there was a glint of steel in his expression. We ordered whiskeys and sat in silence, sipping slowly, letting the gravity of what we were about to do settle into our bones. Are you sure? He asked. I nodded. Even though my heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might leap from my chest. At exactly 8:10 p.m., we entered Bella Luna. Through the window, I could already see them at their table. Jake, in the shirt I'd helped him pick. Sarah, with her hand on top of his, leaning in, whispering something that made him laugh. It took everything in me not to walk straight to their table and throw the wine in her face.
But no.
We had a plan. The hostess guided us to table 12. I sat so that Jake would see me the moment he looked up. It didn't take long. He froze mid-laugh, his eyes locking with mine across the room. His face twisted from confusion to shock, then crumbled into raw panic. I watched it all like a silent film. Sarah turned to follow his gaze and went pale the second she saw Tom. The 4 of us were caught in a moment of unbearable silence, the world spinning around us like nothing had happened. I lifted my glass in a mock toast. Fancy meeting you here, I said, voice calm, eyes steady. Mind if we join you? What followed was the most awkward, emotionally exhausting dinner of my life. The waiter, oblivious, asked if we wanted to push the tables together. That's a wonderful idea, Tom said with a smile that carried the weight of 1,000 broken promises. And so we did. 2 tables for people, and a night none of us would forget. We ordered wine. We made small talk. I asked Sarah how her boys were doing. She flinched. Jake barely touched his food, his gaze flickering between me and the exit. Halfway through the main course, I leaned forward and calmly asked, so, how long have you 2 been sleeping together? 6 months. No, 7. They said it quietly, like numbers could soften the blow. Jake begged me to keep it down. This isn't the place, he whispered. Where's the place, Jake? I asked. At home? While I'm folding laundry, and you're at her place. Tom took my hand, a gesture that gave me strength I didn't know I still had. We know everything, he said. Every text. Every lie. Sarah's tears spilled quietly. Jake just looked defeated. What happens now? He asked. I finished my wine, looked him in the eye. Now? Now Tom and Sarah discussed their custody arrangements. And you and I talked divorce lawyers. There were no fireworks. No drama for the other diners. Just the quiet collapse of 2 marriages under soft lighting and the clink of silverware. Tom and I walked out together into the cool night. We sat at a park bench under the stars. Well, he said, breaking the silence. That was something. I laughed. A sad, hollow sound.
Yeah.
That was something. What now? He asked. I looked up at the sky. Now we start over. 6 months later, I'm healing.
I'm divorced.
Tom and I meet for coffee sometimes. We're not together. Not romantically, but we're allies. Survivors of the same shipwreck. And while I wouldn't wish that night on anyone, I take a strange comfort in knowing that neither Jake nor Sarah will ever feel comfortable setting foot in Bella Luna again. Thanks for watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned, because sometimes revenge is best served with Cabernet.